Welcome back, America. With us is Representative Elise Stefanik. Elise Stefanik, a couple of things here. You have half the Democrats in the House of Representatives who voted against a resolution that called anti-Zionism, anti-Semitism. All that means Zionism is the Jews have a right to live in Israel. Half of them voted against it. You had a resolution the week before similar to that, and less than half of them voted for it. You have a group within the Democrat Party that's clearly anti-Semitic, anti-Israel. What do you make of this? I mean, I see this as a rising tide within the Democrat Party. I don't see this in the Republican Party at all, correct?
That's correct, Mark. It is a rising tide, unfortunately, in today's Democrat Party, and you can see this really anti-Americanism continue to be lurching the old Democratic Party further and further to the left. But I will tell you, Mark, that the testimony at the hearing this past week, no one has defended the answers from the university presidents, and there have been calls from my colleagues who are Democrats in Congress and as well as Democrat governors who have condemned the statements from the university presidents and agree that they should be fired and there's no place for them. So I think that hearing was such a historic, shocking moment of shocking the consciousness of this moment we are at time where clearly these higher ed institutions have lost their way, and people need to find moral clarity on issues when it relates to humanity. And Republicans have been crystal clear, and we were proud to call this hearing, and we're going to be proud to hold these higher ed institutions accountable.
But what about this executive branch we were talking about? They have the tools to do a hell of a lot more than they're doing. And the President of the United States has a bully pulpit. He wouldn't even attend that rally with hundreds of thousands of people supporting Israel, Jews and Gentiles alike, as he was flying off to meet President Xi in California. He's up in Boston meeting with the former chairman of J Street, which you may be familiar with, which is an anti-Israel group, radical left-wing group. They talk a lot about Islamophobia, but they do that really to create ambiguity when it comes to the issue of anti-Semitism. And there's these constant leaks out of the administration that half of his interns are upset and half of the part of the State Department's upset. Again, when Donald Trump was president of the United States, he was full-throated in support of the State of Israel. He signed the first executive order to extend the Civil Rights Act to anti-Semitism on college campuses. It is that executive order that's being used by Jewish students who are being threatened, who are bringing lawsuits, and yet on MSNBC, a former Democrat senator from Michigan says he's worse than Hitler, that he's worse than Hitler. What do you make of this?
Well, that statement is just atrocious and factually inaccurate, obviously. There was no greater president of the United States, a greater friend of Israel than Donald Trump, and his list of accomplishments is quite lengthy. You pointed out the executive order. That is, in fact, the executive order that is allowing Jewish students to legally hold these schools accountable for the school's failure to protect the safety and security of Jewish students on campus today. And this administration under Joe Biden has been deafeningly silent when it comes to the Oval Office. We heard from the White House podium when it came to the press office. They condemned the comments, but it needs to come from the President of the United States, let alone, Mark, if you look at the weakness on the global stage of Joe Biden, not standing strongly enough with our allies. And there was no question that President Trump strongly stood with our allies like Israel. But the list of Joe Biden's weakness is long. And this is why in 2024, I think you're going to see a sea change and an election of Republicans up and down the ballot, starting with Donald Trump for president.
And, you know, they wouldn't even condemn Jayapal, who goes on CNN. And even at CNN, she's questioned over and over again about the horrendous atrocities and rape and torture, genitalia torture of these Jewish women. And she would not condemn it without conditions. She wouldn't condemn it, and then it's always with the word but. They wouldn't condemn that, Congresswoman.
It's outrageous. That is a leader in today's Democrat Party, in the halls of Congress in today's Democrat Party, and the White House has been definitely silent. Joe Biden has been silent and has refused to condemn, and Joe Biden has been silent. Again, the press office condemned the statements by the university presidents, but the world needs to hear this from the President of the United States. And the world also needs to hear this. You know who else needs to speak out against the university presidents? Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, who is, like myself, a graduate of Harvard, and he has been silent. We need to hear from him on this issue. This is a time for moral leadership, and he needs to speak out as well as Joe Biden on this issue.
I want to thank you for your leadership in so many areas, and I really mean that. I think you've become a superstar up there in Congress. Keep up the great work, and we appreciate it. God bless you.
Thank you, Mark.